Hello, hello, hello. I am Matt Williamson, and I mentioned yesterday that my article went live early Wednesday morning, my top 10 corners for the Steelers through their eyes. Go check that out. Many of you have. Lots of good responses. We talked about the visits yesterday, so I owe you a little something here. There was an interior offensive lineman from NC State, Chandler Zavalia, that I knew very, very little about other than just seeing his name on paper. Did some homework on him. He is coming in for a visit with the Steelers. It just so happens Pro Football Focus put an article out this morning of hot players right now. So I'll read what they had to say about this guy, but he's a tremendous athlete. So here's the blurb they have on him. Zavalia has been the hottest name in the interior line class ever since his pro day on March 28th. It's easy to see why when a 6'3", 322-pound man put up these numbers. And he's pretty well built. I went and looked him up a little bit. Ran just over a 5 40. That's flying for 322. His shuttle, 4.53. And you guys know I have this hang up about interior linemen with low shuttle numbers. That's phenomenal. His 3-cone was really good, 7.56, 32.5-inch vertical, 30 reps. Tremendous workout. So here's a little bit about him. Zavalia transferred from Division II Fairmont State to NC State in 2021 and started the first 5 games for the Wolfpack before a back injury ended his season. He returned in 2022 to be one of the best pass-protecting guards in the country, allowing only 4 pressures on 422 pass-blocking snaps. He looks like a day 2 lock at this point. So I don't see it. Again, I don't know a ton about him. I don't see center there. Maybe. I definitely don't see tackle, even though he's a great athlete, but he's only 6'3". So bringing another guard, befuddles me a little bit, but this guy's very intriguing, obviously from a traits perspective, and he does have some good tape as well. So as promised, I want to talk about my corner list. But before we do, there's a name I left off, and I left him off on purpose, but I like him a lot. And this is LaDainian Tomlinson's nephew, Tre'Davious Hodge Tomlinson. He's only 5'8", and he's 178 pounds. He ran well, 4.41. His 10-yard split was really good. His jumps are phenomenal. Really short arms, small hands. His tape is really good, though. I didn't put him on the list because he's 5'8". So, he over the last 4 seasons, he's played a lot of football, so he had 5 interceptions over that stretch, but 29 pass breakups, which is phenomenal. He gets his hands on the football even if he isn't picking it off. So you would assume 5'8", but he's a tough guy. You love his temperament. Perfect for the slot. He's Mike Hilton. He's the next guy. He hasn't done it, though. He's a TCU, and he's an outside corner. So he has 2,160 snaps at outside corner versus 66 in the slot. So you're going to have to teach him slot, even though he has the temperament, the toughness, the bloodlines, the size to be a slot. So that's why I left him off. I'd love to draft him in the 3rd or 4th round or whatever, and draft Brents or somebody like that. That's huge. And we'll get to those dudes. So here's a little nugget I found out too. So his ability downfield was as good as anyone in this class. So people attacked him deep more than most corners. And he was like the best in the, besides Witherspoon, he was like the best in the class in terms of making plays deep down the field, which you wouldn't think from a smaller guy. So if he were 6'1", 200 pounds, would Hodges Tomlinson be the best corner in this draft? I think the answer is yes, which is startling. But every day when he wakes up, he is not going to be 6 foot and 200 pounds, so I don't know what to do with that, to be honest with you. I really am intrigued by the player, but I left him off because I just can't say he's going to cause, he'll cure the Steelers cornerback problems. He's 5'8". So on this list, I had a couple just missed, one of whom is Clark Phillips, the third from Utah. Also because of size, very short arms, 5'9", 184. I think he's only a slot at the next level. The hardest guy I had to leave off the list was Darius Rush from South Carolina. He's 6'2", 198, very athletic. His teammate, Cam Smith, is on this list. Rush, to me, if the Steelers took him in that second round pick, I would totally understand. He's got a lot of momentum right now. Coincidentally, not coincidentally, you guys know what you're talking about. A lot of the comments on my corner article was, yeah, I really like Darius Rush, though. And I have him as a just missed. I just didn't write him up. Another player who we did talk about yesterday, it was in for a meeting, I think it was yesterday, is Tyreek Stevenson from Miami. 6 foot, 198. Also really good deep downfield, outside corner. So all those guys I like quite a bit. Phillips is a little different than the rest, so I left him off on purpose. Rush and Stevenson, if I were to do a top 12, probably would have been the top 12 because they're prototypical size, straight, size, long arms, trait, speed, outside corners that I think the Steelers need. Not the Steelers don't need help at slot as well. But, okay, we'll be back here in a moment. I'm going to go buzz through my top 10 from 10 to 1. All right, you can find all this stuff at the site with a little bit deeper write-up. I was going to buzz through these. I almost left Garrett Williams off the list from Syracuse, but I think if he were a clean prospect, and when people say a clean prospect, no medical, no off the field, any of those type of things, I think he's a guaranteed top 50 pick. But he tore his ACL halfway through this past season, and you don't know when he's going to come back. He has good size. He is very fluid, productive, really good hips, good route recognition, quick feet. So I really, really like the player. And, maybe you take him in the third or fourth round where he would have been the 40th pick overall otherwise. So it'll be really interesting to see where he falls because he's hard for me to comment on because I don't know the status of his ACL and I don't know what his speed was before that. There are some people that question it. I thought it was fine, not great. So that's something to keep an eye on with this guy. He might be a value. He might be a risk. Well, he's probably both. A big name corner that I have some concerns about are Kaylee Ringo, Georgia. He's 6'2", 207. I mean, he's the prototype. He's big. He's fast. And what I said about him from a Steeler perspective is this guy's a 5-star recruit, went to Georgia, but there's a lot of inconsistencies to his game. And he's kind of a straight line athlete. He's not real sudden change in directions. When he gets in a straight line or if he's in a trail position, he's going to catch up. He's going to bang at the line of scrimmage. You can easily see why he's a 5-star recruit. But what I said about him was, of all the guys on this list, hanging out with Patrick Peterson might be best for Ringo out of all of them. It'd be great for all these guys. And that's why Peterson's here, and a short-term fix. But he's going to be the mentor probably of one of these corners. And I do think the Steelers will end up with one of these corners. But Ringo could use it the most. I also don't know that he might not be a safety. I mean, he's a big guy. He'll throw his body around. But his change of direction is a little bit worrisome. Really interesting player, and Seattle's going to love this guy. Julius Brents from Kansas State. He's 6'3", just under 200 pounds. Crazy length, long arms, ridiculous jump numbers at the combine. Really, really athletic. Changes direction a lot better than you would think. Didn't play as much press coverage, press man at Kansas State as you'd think. But I think that's just their scheme, if you have it. So I think that he's going to be highly capable of that and probably excel in that way. But he has a lot of upside to him. I mean, might take a year till he really hits his stride, but I like Brents a lot for the Steelers. You might have noticed, depending how much of a draft nerd you are, that DJ Turner from Michigan, and Michigan's on TV around here a lot, of course, but Turner had the best 40 of anyone at the Combine. He's 5'11", he's only 178. I bet he gets in the mid-180s, which I'm fine with, but he is a burner. His jumps were phenomenal. I think he's a really good player. He's my 7th-ranked cornerback. Played almost all outside. I know some people are like, well, he's a slot. I don't think, because I don't think he's particularly physical. Now, I'm not saying he's a track star in spikes, in pads, but he is more athlete than glass eater, and in the slot, you got to be a nasty dude. You got to be close to the line of scrimmage. You're blitzing, you're taking on offensive linemen. I don't think that's what Turner's game is, physicality, even fighting at the catch point. But he is glued to receivers, and again, he's not a wuss. I mean, I'm sure there's some Steelers fans, he's not for us. He's not tough enough. He's fine. Just leave him on the outside. Don't ask him to play a slot. He is sticky, though. We've talked about Emmanuel Forbes a lot, and he makes my brain hurt because he's 6'1" with crazy long arms, crazy long limbs, but he's 166 pounds. And you look at him, he's got no calves. His ankles are tiny. His lower body, I bet he wears like a 24-inch jeans. Like his waist. It's tiny. Can he hold up to Nick Chubb coming around the corner, or Mixon, or, this division, let alone the whole league? But this division's a little more physical. But he doesn't play bashful. I think he's the best tape of any of the corners in this game, in this draft. I think he's the best football player at corner of anyone in this draft. His ball skills are phenomenal. He has 14 interceptions at college level, which is a ton. And 6 of them he took to the house, which I'm almost positive is an NCAA record. He reads quarterbacks. He baits quarterbacks. His route recognition is phenomenal. There's only a negative. It's 166 pounds. So he is aggressive. He attacks the ball in the air. He's not bashful against the run, but he's 166 pounds. But he's 166 pounds. I can't get around that. And the way he looks, I don't know if he'll ever be 175. I mentioned Cam Smith's teammate from South Carolina. Smith's a little boring to me, but there's nothing wrong with a boring corner. He's 6'1", 180. He's been on these lists for forever. Everyone knows who he is. I'm not taking him at 17. I think he's a really good number 2 corner at the next level. And people are probably like, what? A number 2 corner has amazing value. I'm not sure the Steelers have a number 2 corner on their team right now. There are very few number 1s. He's a little lean. He's consistent, though. He's explosive. He closes well. Good in press. Also good playing off. So there's a lot to like. It's just not super flashy, super sexy. If the Steelers took him at 32, I think they'd be really happy. You're not going to get him the pick after that. I wouldn't take him the pick before that. So the last 4, you probably know who they are. We've talked about them quite a bit. And to pull back the curtain, Gonzalez is my 1 from Oregon State. Devin Witherspoon is my 2 from Illinois. I think there's no chance either one makes it a 17. And if they do, you just sprint to the podium to get those guys. I'm not trading up in this draft. They're good players, but I don't like them enough for that. Witherspoon is lean, but he is much nastier than Gonzalez. Gonzalez, this is almost... there's not a comparison I like to make, but as an athlete, he kind of reminds me of Rod Woodson. He is a tremendous athlete with physicality and size. He's not a glass eater either. But Gonzalez is physical enough, and I don't need my corners to be the nastiest guy on the field, but he doesn't love sticking his nose in things. He's a bit of a pile inspector, the last guy in there. But man, he is talented. His tape is phenomenal. Excellent in press man. Witherspoon's tape's a little better, but he's leaner and he's not as prototypical trait-wise. So you can make an argument for either one of those 2 at 1 or 2. I have Gonzalez 1, and I don't think either one has any chance to be a Steeler. Now, the 2 guys that have the best chance of being a Steeler at 17 are, of course, Joey Porter Jr. and Deonte Banks from Maryland. Neither one's taking the ball away a lot, but they both are physical at the line of scrimmage, press man coverage guys. Porter's taller. He's 6'2.5" with crazy long arms. Banks, I think, is more fluid, more versatile. He's also a little heavier than Porter, which is surprising when you look at the two of them. Banks looks longer, leaner, but he is heavier. Porter's got wide shoulders, long arms. I mean, he's a really physical guy. We've talked about these two a lot. Banks wouldn't be, neither one would I love at 17, but both would be fine, solid picks. Outside corners, a lot of press man coverage. I think Banks is better in off and in man than Porter is. That's my problem area with Porter, is he's really just a press man coverage. If he's backpedaling, he's struggling a little bit. If he's playing off, he's struggling a little bit. Doesn't mean he can't get better in those things. He's very physical, much like his dad. But he didn't allow many completions either. He has one interception in his career, Porter, but was great at breaking balls up and not allowing completions. Banks, people stopped throwing at him. I mean, he's a real sticky, athletic corner that has prototypical traits. So overall, this is an excellent class of corners. And as my article opens up with this week, I'm almost dead certain that one of the Steelers' first three picks will be one of these names I just mentioned. At the latest, the third round pick will be a corner, but I think they will take a corner high. That's the thing about this draft that I feel most confident about. And there's a lot to pick from. And there's others I didn't even get into that are third, fourth rounders that are really intriguing as well. So that's a wrap. We'll talk to you later.